You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thanks so much for joining me today on this Friday. It is finally Friday, like it matters to my life, but it is Friday, March 6, 2026. We are live on worldviewtube.com, WorldviewTube, a Rumble and X account, also WorldviewTube app, which is free and available on your app store. All you need to do is install it, turn on your notification, and you're good to go. We're also live on X America News on X and live on my platforms on X, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and Substack. Join the conversation on the comment section as we get through the day. I will have not one, but two guests today. I figured since, as I said, unless something major breaks, I will be taking off air next week due to travels and some other stuff. We might as well close the week as strong as possible. But before we get to our guest, I want to remind you, as I will be off a week, and I know normally when I'm not on air, rightfully so, things will slow down a little bit on your end. But though I'm not on air, I'm still working. I am putting out reports, writing Substacks, and working on a book. Believe it or not, the first one is not even released yet, but I'm working on the second one. So remember, there are a few ways you can financially support me, and I do need your support more than ever. We'll get through those as we go to our ad breaks, but I want to remind you, the last batch of available signed copies of paperback of my book is now available on my website. All you need to do is go to the website and order your signed copy. It will ship to you about a week before the book is actually released. If you're outside of America, I do apologize. You do have to wait until March 21st for Amazon to release the book. However, the pre-orders for Kindle are also available. So head over to my website, liveuptofreedom.com, and order your Kindle pre-order or order your paperback signed copy, and I will get them to you as soon as possible. And I never thought when the book comes out it's going to be as urgent as it is today, but I guess God's timing, right? He made sure the time of coming out for this book is when we might be facing more reality of jihad, not just in the format that you are familiar with, but on all 10 fronts of jihad that I described in this book. Now, that being said, I don't want to take too much of this intro because I just got breaking news before coming on air, and I want to discuss that with both my guests. But the first guest that's going to join me today is no stranger to all of you, Barry Nussbaum, the founder of American Truth Project, dear friend of mine for over a decade, and a man who's not afraid to come out and say the things many don't, especially when they want to preferably get clicks over getting the truth out. Barry, welcome to Live Up to Freedom. Good to have you back.
So good to be with you again, Annie. Thanks for having me.
Of course, there's a lot to discuss, but right as we were getting ready to go live, I received notification that is a little disturbing. Maybe it shouldn't be, but it is. But I'll let you tell me if I should be disturbed or not. There was a press conference by a speaker of the White House. I always get her name wrong. Caroline Leavitt.
Leavitt.
Is that how we say?
Caroline Leavitt, yeah.
She is now mentioning that the White House is reviewing few names for the next leader of Iran. No, I refuse to receive that message. What are we doing, Barry? What's happening here?
I I think, and I haven't done the research yet because I know it just happened. I think Trump is reliving his happy after effects vis-a-vis Venezuela. And everybody expected when Maduro was grabbed in the unbelievable Delta Force operation and brought back to the United States to stand trial, that Trump would replace Maduro with somebody of his own choosing. What happened was the vice president of Venezuela took the office. She was aligned and supported by the cartels, and somehow Trump made a deal with her. And the most unlikely recipient of Trump's support took office and is still there today. And I get the feeling that Trump wants to relive that success by being able to select the subsequent and eventual leader of Iran when the mullahs are no longer in power. That's what I think he wants to do, and he has publicly said it. And Caroline Leavitt says he has that authority to approve who the new leader will be. And then, of course, that opens the door to, oh my God, is it going to be somebody we can live with? Or is it just going to be another terrorist with a different name and a different uniform?
Well, Barry, we know, I know you know, that the name he's going to pick is not going to be someone we're going to be able to live with. Breaking it down for our audience, just in case if you don't know, there are only three possible options here on the table under the circumstances because the regime isn't toppled. So Crown Reza Pahlavi is completely out of the option right now. The other three options are either the moderate reformers of Iran, which we both know are the same people. They just want to take power and then grow into mullahs again. The second option are the MEK, who have been, honestly, last year or so, they got really fancy lipstick on them. And then the last but not least option would be a temporary put together from leaders inside Iran. All three options go back to the same thing: Sharia constitution, and Sharia constitution. So I guess the reason I'm probably my face is still reacting to it when I heard the news. It's like, whoa, wait. You just flipped to about 2.5 million Iranian American votes for midterm. Are you going to flip them back to not? Because, okay.
So why, let me ask you a question, since we didn't get to this when we spoke earlier. Why do you think the Crown Prince, who is saying, I don't want to be the king, I want to be a interim leader to lead a transition from the Nazi-like regime of the mullahs to a democracy where the people get to participate in and select their leadership through normal elections, Western style? Why do you think he's not being considered?
Gosh, there are many reasons, but top of the line is, remember, unfortunately, American policy, the same reason they removed his father is the same reason they don't want him in power. A government, even temporary 100 days government under Crown Prince Pahlavi, will quickly show the world that he's the leader who can not only bring stability to the country and the region, but across the world. And with that, that's not good for us. I mean, what are we going to do with all of our deals with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the what do we call them? The weaponry industry, weapon industry, all of that is going to fall apart. That's the historic action of America. Trump himself also knows that, just like his father, Crown Prince Pahlavi is not a puppet whatsoever. He will not be controlled. He will be a great ally, but he's going to put the country first. He's going to be Iran first. And we love Trump to an extent, but Trump prefers to have people in power who will listen to him and follow his lead. And he knows Crown Prince Pahlavi is not going to do that. So those would be the two top reasons. The same two top reasons that Bibi prefers Crown Prince Pahlavi, because he knows how good that is going to be for Israel.
Yeah, no question. And I go back to 2 years ago when the prince was in Israel, and he said, if I come back into power, I will lead a democratic revolution. And the first day, I will recognize Israel. I will declare peace with Israel. And he talks about expansion of the Abraham Accords, which he calls the Cyrus Accords, out of respect to Cyrus the great leader of Persia in ancient times. He would be a fantastic, almost unbelievable transition from the depths of hell, which Iran is in now, to returning to the 1970s when women had equality, when they were judges and they were doctors and they were lawyers and they dressed like Paris.
They were
The
generals
Persian,
in the army.
absolutely true. And I have spoken to older gentlemen in Israel that used to train with the Iranian Air Force. They were best friends. There was technology cooperation. There was trade. The vacationers would go back and forth. Iran was a great ally of Israel and vice versa until Jimmy Carter blew it all up.
Yes, and again, I'm trying to not get ahead of myself, but just then, the announcement of we're looking at certain, list of names tells me two things. One, we're not going to finish this, meaning we're not going to have a change of regime, as you said, and that's something I tried not to touch on, mainly Venezuela. People of Venezuela were not liberated. They weren't. That's the truth. It was just we replaced the guy who was a rebel and replaced him with a woman who might possibly for a while listen to what we have to say. So this is gonna, I'm gonna just stay, I'm gonna do my best to not look at this as an Iranian, which is very tough right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's been almost 10 weeks of our life on a emotional roller coaster. And not to think of what can be there next week for my people, including the fact that I need to unpack my suitcase that I packed to go home for a minute. Even as an American, this could come back to really, really hunt us for midterm. Wouldn't it, Barry?
Yeah, yeah, I'm very discouraged by what you said earlier that, the MEK is an example. They're terrorists and they're Mujahideen. It's part of their name, which means they are Islamists. So you get rid of a guy that wears a robe this way, and then you hire the guys that wear robes like this. They don't want to be part of the 21st century. They want to go back to the Dark Ages and run the country according to scripture that they see a better interpretation of it. And as you and I have talked about it before, it's the same thing that happened in Syria. Assad was driven from power. The Syrians were very excited. Oh my God, we're going to join the Western world. We're going to be free. And in waltzes a terrorist who takes off his jihadi robes and stops dressing like Osama bin Laden, puts on a suit. And as we talk of joke, but it's not that funny, Donald Trump says, good looking guy in a nice suit. And he's a murderer, a mass murderer, a terrorist. And he's welcome to the White House like he's one of the guys. So that's very discouraging. If after all of the loss of blood and treasure in Iran, and if the mullahs finally fall and the IRGC loses control of the country, and they get replaced by other jihadis, oh my God, all this effort, all this sacrifice, all this tremendous military victory, and it's like, you get rid of one mass murderer and bring in another one. And yeah, there'll be peace for a few years because the country's in shambles and they have no military and the missiles will be all blown up. But, if the philosophy is strict Quranic interpretation of domination of all non-believers, which is all of Christendom, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, the Baha'is, we've traded one bad guy for new bad guys. And that would be a political and personal disaster for the people of Iran.
Yes, and let's not mention we need to go to our ad break here in a second, but adding to everything you said, we need to also remember MEK is a Marxist Islamist. And a lot of people get confused on that. What they mean by their Marxism is you look at any of their pictures, any of their rallies, any of their speeches and events, look at them. The women are on full proper hijab format, but they have the Marxist side where they all wear the same thing. Same color, same size, same form, same style. That's their Marxist, which they believe Masoud Rajavi, the head, who's missing, and I'm sure they're going to play him as Imam Zaman. He's going to appear when they get power in Iran. But Masoud Rajavi always said the problem with other Islamic groups is that they do not have the standard dictated by Sharia. That's how they brought Marxism into it, that we will uniform. Every member will eat the same thing, does the same thing, wear the same thing. So this is where we say MEK will be worse than the mullahs because they bring the Marxist style of Sharia into power. They've done it in their own camps, their own people, their own system. It has been, to them, it's proven to work. So a disaster would be an understatement, and I can't wait for Hediye to join us in next 15 minutes or so, because I want to hear her thoughts on this too. But let's go take our first ad break, guys. I will glance at the comments. If you have any questions for me, or if you have questions for Barry, put them in the comments section, and we'll be right back to continue this conversation.
Life is too short to spend a single moment spinning in laundry worries. Take a load off your mind with the all-new Norwex Powerzyme laundry detergent. This natural detergent harnesses the power of enzymes and plant-based surfactants to leave fabrics fresh and clean without fillers, brighteners, synthetic fragrances, bleach, or harsh chemicals. So go ahead, have your cake and eat it too. More than ever, stressful stains have met their match. Powerzyme's fast-acting enzymes break down organic substances while natural surfactants loosen locked-in dirt and oil, removing residue, stains, and odors with ease. With 91% bio-based ingredients, this dermatologist-tested hypoallergenic formula is suitable for sensitive skin types and delivers a safe and effective clean that won't harm you or the planet's waterways. Less time spent worrying about laundry means you can focus on what truly matters. Norwex Powerzyme Laundry Detergent. Discover the power of nature and load up on confidence.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. Jason, I see your comment. Thank you for the compliment. Jason says, I have to say I love your hair. The West is really rubbing off on you, which is a good thing. Thank you. I take the compliment. I appreciate it. I was born with this hair in Iran, though. And if you're referring to the gray, that's definitely Westerns not listening to my warning. That's how I got the gray hair. No, I'm kidding. Everybody in my family got gray pretty quickly. That 142. Appreciate that. And yes, one moment, Barry, this is a good comment. Don said on the comment section that 1 minute President Trump said Iranian people will pick their future, but now he's sorting through names. How do I not criticize that, Barry?
Well, we have to go back to Venezuela. It was promised to the Venezuelan people you're going to have a free, newly selected Democrat leadership, and Trump stepped in when Maduro was back in United States custody. The vice president swore herself in. She's a thug. She works with the cartels. She's in the pocket of the biggest drug dealers in the Western Hemisphere. And all of a sudden, she and Trump are buddies. So I don't have a lot of confidence that the right leadership subsequent to the removal of the mullahs and the RIGC and all of their thug allies are gone, what Trump will do. I'm afraid he'll pick expediency over freedom and control of the new regime over independence. And that concerns me. And I assume it will concern 90 million Iranians that will go from dancing in the streets to, did we just trade the Germans after World War II for the Japanese? Equally horrible, equally murderous, neither one believed in freedom of the people. And I have a concern about that.
Yes, that's the thing. Well, you know me. From day one, I said I will stay positive, but I highly doubt that United States of America, regardless of which president, is going to allow Iranians to pick their own leader, especially with everything we just said on the first segment. They know Iranians aren't going to pick MK. They're going to pick the man who's going to lead the country into its glorious days. Literally make America great, make Iran great again applies in this case. But last 3 days, I started saying that I am discouraged. Everybody was like, oh, Trump is playing the 4D chess. He's just saying it to say it. And I'm going to still go with that flow of narrative. But at this moment, this very given moment, there is no reason for Caroline to come out and say what she said. And we got to connect the dots, right? That's what we do. We go back to 4 days ago when Trump says, the first thing is, well, we have her, I've been watching Crown Prince Pahlavi. He seemed like a nice guy, but he doesn't have enough popularity. And it's more appropriate if someone from inside would come to power who's more moderate and modern. Then next day he says, I'm going to play a huge role in picking the next leader. Same day he also says, if Kurds want to pick up arms and become our boots on the ground, we'll support that. Then we are looking at names. You look at those words, my concern and your concern and everybody else's concern is very legit. It's a concern that we can see, and again, as you said, historically. But huge but here. Barry, what will be Bibi's reaction to this? Because we both know last year after 12 days, Bibi was willing to give it a minute. But we also both know this time around, he's done. He has said few times in the last 7 days that we're going all the way. We're going all the way. So now new concern in my head during ad break is like, oh, is that where Israel-U.S. conflict is going to start? And I don't mean a war, but like policy conflict.
Oh, absolutely. And the word out of Israel is Israel will not tolerate, period, any similarity in subsequent governance based on Islamist principles. They have a great deal of affinity for the Crown Prince. As I've mentioned, when the Prince was in Israel 2 years ago, he made some profound statements about recognizing Israel, making peace with the Jewish state, expanding the Abraham Accords to what he calls the Cyrus Accords, out of respect for Cyrus the Great. And just yesterday, ironically, I think he's starting his own public relations campaign, and he signed one of his releases, MAGA, Make Iran Great Again. Trying to rope in the MAGA movement in the United States and playing off the acronym created by Donald Trump, which has become not only his slogan, but the movement that got him elected. And this ain't over yet. The networks are giving the Crown Prince a lot of airtime. He's building support in the United States. And I would not be surprised if Donald Trump gets swayed and if there is a meeting, whether it's overt or covert, at the White House or at Mar-a-Lago with Trump and Pahlavi to discuss the future of Iran. Because if Trump says, okay, and you got to know I'm the boss, and the Crown Prince goes, you got it, he's in. And I'm not so discouraged as you are that there's not a path to that. Although it does bother me, as it bothers you, that the key words that Caroline Leavitt said, the press secretary for the president, that the president feels that the future leader of Iran must come from inside Iran. That's nuts, because there's nobody left alive in Iran that's not sympathetic to or has been approved by the thugs running Iran now. And that's very concerning.
Yes, by the way, I should stand corrected. That was Trump's words himself, that he said it is more appropriate to have someone from inside. And I guess my reasoning for saying there's no path for Crown Prince Pahlavi is if they're looking at names today, Barry, the situation in Iran isn't at a point to bring Pahlavi in. That's why I'm saying there's no path for Pahlavi. If they were looking at names 10 days from today, absolutely. But right now inside Iran, there is not enough. We have made great progress and achievement, but it's not destabilized enough through IRGC to send Crown Prince Pahlavi in. The only safety is from within their own group, where they'd be like, okay, fine, you gave us one of our own leaders. And guys, let's go ahead and bring Hedi Amir Ahmadi on. She is with us, ready to join. And again, she's no stranger to my audience here, but I think Hedi and Barry, I don't think I have had you guys on at the same time. So Hedi John, welcome to the show. I don't know how much of the discussion you were able to hear, but I'm panicking.
Enough.
Barry, go ahead, the floor is yours.
Heard enough to panic. Yeah, I mean, you and I are the same accord in the sense that, like, every day we watch the news and just this sense of dread that the U.S. is going to do what we often do, which is pick all the wrong people to do all the wrong jobs in all the wrong places. And even if they are of Iranian American or Iranian descent, or they're inside Iran, it doesn't mean that they're the right player. So I'm a little concerned about, I mean, I was very concerned about arming the Kurds. The U.S. has a long relationship and a somewhat toxic one, because we didn't honor the promises in Iraq. We didn't honor the promises in Syria. And I can't imagine that the Kurds are just going to take this kind of this infidelity, the lack of responsibility that the U.S. takes every time we use the Kurds as a militia. And also the fact, I don't know if you guys talked about it, I missed that part if you did, that the Kurds are present in all of these other nations and have been promised a state or some kind of an independent country. And that's not what we're hoping for Iran, for the Iranian Kurds to break off. So it really worries me that we're arming them as a militia. And if we go down that route, are we going to arm MEK as well, because they're also a militia?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I purposely waited until now. I want to address something for World YouTube audience, my own audience, everybody. Yesterday on Brandon's radio, I had a brief moment. It was a back-to-back situation. And I said, I don't think it's a great idea to arm the Kurd militia. Specifically, I named Komole. Now, people are messaging saying, you're right, wrong about Kurds. First of all, I didn't say all Kurds. I never say all anyways. What I said was Komole. Look up Komole. Komole has been in Iran. Now, most of them are in Iraq. They are the socialist liberal party of Kurds. Shall I say more? No, I don't. Also, when Masoud Rajavi and MEK had their fallout with Khomeini in early 80s, they went and started making deals with Kurds of Komole with the same promise Hedi just brought up, that, hey, you help us take down this regime, help us get in power, we give you your own territory. So the connection I made between Kurd militia of Komole and MEK was not made up. It's not made up. I don't make things up. I don't need to. I know too much to make things up. So get your facts straight. 90% of known Kurd militia, not Kurd people, not Kurdish cities, 90% of Kurd militia around the region are either Sunni Muslim or Marxist liberal or socialist liberal. Barry and Hedi, can you back me up here?
Absolutely. That was the next thing I was going to point out, is that they're Sunnis for the most part, or they're Marxist socialists or Sunnis. So, you know, stoking that fire is not helpful either for inside Iran. And again, you're right. It's the arming of the militias. And I can tell you from those backdoor conversations I had in the lead up to Iraq, we often go, especially our military and our DIA, which is going to be very active right now, our Defense Intelligence Agency, goes for the lowest hanging fruit. It's like, okay, who's got guns? Those guys. Well, yeah, you've been giving them guns for like 20, 30 years now. Yes, they have guns, but that doesn't mean that that's useful in this scenario. So it's really upsetting that we just, in terms of wanting expediency, something fast and quick, we just don't think about the long-term consequences of militarizing a particular faction. That's not helpful for the continuity and for the stability of Iran long term.
There's an
Exactly.
interesting that
Go ahead, Barry.
I was going to add. There's an interesting question regarding the comment that she just made. The Kurds have been fighting for their own autonomy for generations, in Turkey, in Iraq, in Iran, and in Syria. And each time they think, I'm talking about the Kurds now, oh, we're going to have our autonomous state, or we're going to have our own country, or we're going to have some sort of independence, the ball gets dropped and they get bombed. It's happening right now. Turkey was strafing Kurdish positions in Iraq yesterday. The Kurds are an enormous population. They should have had a country a long time ago. And I'm very curious as to what they're being promised now, as supposedly they're crossing the border as we speak from Iraq into Iran. They're armed, they're organized, they want to fight the IRGC. What have they been promised? And if there is a promise that does come out, are they going to be left standing at the altar again? And then whoever takes power blows them up all over again. It's sadly to say, but it's been going on for 50 years. And all of these countries that didn't exist, actually 70 years ago, have a united front that, no, we're not giving territory to the Kurds, no matter what they're promised. So if they go to battle, armed and led ostensibly by the CIA, are we going to screw them again?
No, but you know who's going to give them their own territory? Mariam Rajavi. She will gladly give them that. Masoud Rajavi and Mariam Rajavi were the only people who were willing and still are willing to give them their own territory. But they failed. They couldn't take over Iran. So it wasn't that they broke their promise. They failed to take power, which looks like they might now. I'm sorry, Hediya, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, imagine what that's going to do, because Turkey does not want to give the Turkish Kurds territory, either to Syria, either does Iraq. So is she just going to carve out this little piece out of Iran? I mean, we're opening up a front with Erdogan and Turkey as the United States if we have promised them independence, because that's going to ignite a whole different fight in all of those neighboring countries.
Well, as you know, Mariam Rajavi is not going to give anything to Kurds of Iraq. She and her military fought alongside with Saddam Hussein against them. She killed them, right? So that's not going to happen. And that's where I think I'm trying so hard to even calm down my voice, and I can't. I hate to be constantly right when I call these and people attack me like, you're so negative. Well, here we are.
Right.
It's that thing of, this very announcement today, well, I should say the 3 announcements today, it's way more than some whatever the chess or bigger picture. This is literally taking the picture and shredding it right now. And
well,
you realize we're reading tea leaves here. I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There's in politics, there's a famous slogan, which I think applies here, and that is, we don't know what we don't know. And is this 4D chess? Is this some sort of Trump long game? Or are these dumb statements that we want to read into more than we should? I am not as discouraged as you are that the prince will not end up being the leader, at least of a transitional government of a year or two, until democratic institutions are instituted and established within Iran. As I said earlier, the Israelis will not, and I mean this in the biggest capital letters we can put, will not tolerate one Islamic government being replaced by another Islamic government. They'll be in the exact same position they're in 5 years from now. And that would be a tremendous shame.
Let me make something very clear. I am not concerned with I have no doubt Crown Prince Pahlavi will be the future leader of Iran. I have no question about that. That's not the concern. How we get there is becoming a concern. Before Hedy joined us, I asked you, I would hate to see this great collaboration going on between U.S. and Israel turn into where now we have to stand against each other because there's a fight over replacement of power. Number two, Iranians inside Iran will not stand for anything except Crown Prince Pahlavi. So the high-pitched voice you're hearing, and probably my face is speaking louder than my high-pitched voice right now, is we were taking the path, and then possibly we might decide to take all the back alleys to get there. Why not? Let's just keep going where we're going. No need for a new leader today, Mr. President. Not even a need for a list today.
And if you recall, when we talked about this, I don't remember if it was your show or Brannon's, I said, wait a minute, before you think we're not going to get involved in regime change, look at what happened in Venezuela, as Barry pointed out. So I'm actually a little less optimistic than you are about the Crown Prince coming in, because in those backdoor, as we've talked about, in those backdoor conversations that I was involved in for regime changes, there is a fight now going on between, factions in the NSC, in Congress, in State Department on whose leader are we going to pick. And it all depends on who has the most influence on Trump. And then ultimately, if Trump says, yeah, I agree with that, or I don't agree with that. Nobody makes Trump do anything, but I guarantee there are a chorus of voices that are advocating for one plot or another. And so is Crown Prince Pahlavi still going to get on a plane or in a car and go over there without U.S. support? Because historically, I could tell you for 25 years, there was no support for the Pahlavis in the State Department or in the White House, Republican or Democrat. So I'm actually saddened that I'm a little less optimistic that that's going to happen if we start going down this road that Trump announced today, when in speaking to Axios. Yes, I'm going to be involved in choosing the leader, which is what I believe to be a huge pivot. It's a huge pivot to what he's been saying for the past couple days.
Well, that's
yes,
the Trump,
but
that's
keep
the
in
Trump
mind,
ego.
That is Trump ego, but keep in mind though, the reason I'm optimistic is exactly what Barry said and what I've been saying for almost the full week. Venezuela did not have IDF support. Iran does. Crown Prince Pahlavi does. This is where the main concern is. Crown Prince Pahlavi is going to make his way to Iran because he's got Bibi and IDF support behind him.
True.
That is why I'm optimistic on the end result. But again, did we really need, and you're very right, Barry, this is exactly where I go back to every time I try to ease down and not pick on Trump. He throws one of those ego moves out there. I'm like, here we go again. I was just about to give you credit and you had to go ahead and make me say it. He's gonna pick, you're correct, 144 Republican sitting Congress members are in his ear with MEK right now. And then you got Bill Gates,
and
you got
Giuliani.
Newsmax, Giuliani, what's his name? McInerney.
Mike Pompeo, is it? No. Who's the other one? Is it Mike Pompeo?
Mike Pompeo, and also General McInerney is in his ear with MEK. But there's also Bibi in his ear of, I told you when we go in, we're not coming back out. So you do you, but I'm going to finish this. That's where I'm worried. We're going to have a conflict between U.S. and Israel now.
I can tell you the Barry plan. And it's premiering right now because I've given it almost 10 minutes of thought. If you look at Venezuela, Trump did not pick a leader that has anything to do with freedom for the Venezuelan people. He picked a gangster to replace a gangster. She is so deep with the cartels. She's a mass criminal. What did he do? He picked somebody that he could control, and it's all about economics. He's bragging on a daily basis. We're getting Venezuelan oil. The Chinese aren't getting it. We're getting gold from Venezuela. We're their largest exporter. We got 100 million barrels last week. And then the Israelis get to weigh in. The Israelis are coming at it from a religious political angle, which is to say we don't want to replace a Nazi-like thug regime with another Nazi-like thug regime. So both can win. And what I mean by that is, as long as Israel gets somebody that makes peace with them, they don't care about the economic relationship between Iran and Israel. Trump will, because the amount of oil and gas reserves that Iran is sitting on that Trump can deny to the Chinese would be catastrophic for China. And Trump is also thinking about Taiwan to the extent that he's already cut off the oil from Venezuela going to China, and the oil from Iran, 90% of the exports were going to China. That's a big deal. So from the economic point of view, if Trump can get what he wants out of Pahlavi and the Israelis can get what they want out of him, I think that becomes the natural choice. I really do. And I think there's a way to get there. Trump will not think about Iran from a religious perspective. He thinks deals. And that's how much money can be made off the reservoirs that Iran is sitting on. It's an enormous $1 trillion reserve that right now is stuck in the ground and ain't going anywhere. And Trump wants a piece of it for American foreign policy to help affect his ability to affect other countries. I think that's the way out of this.
Well,
yes, that's correct. But 1 second, Hedy, hold that thought, because we got to go take our last ad break. Let's go take our last ad break. When we come back, we have your thought on your answer to Barry. Be right back, guys. Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my artist studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, for at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com. Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. Lord, do I miss the days where I actually did my art. One of these days, hopefully I get back to it. But in the meantime, there's still some inventory left on lutfstudio.com. Go ahead and check it out. Use promo code MISSION to get 10% off. And one of these days, someday in the future, we will have more inventory. Let's bring back Hedy and Barry. Before having to take our last ad break, Hedy John, you had some thoughts in response to what Barry said. So go ahead.
Yeah, I always like to draw from my own experience. And so when I was in government as a Muslim, just to remind your audience, I was trying to build moderate Muslim networks. And every time I tried to do that, I traveled to 37 countries on behalf of the U.S. government. I was beaten by the Gulf states and other U.S. actors that were saying that the reform movement never had street cred. It doesn't have legitimacy. So if we look at Trump's track record with Jelani and propping him up and bringing him to the White House and having the guys play basketball with him and putting him in a suit, I feel like we're going down that same vein, which is we need a gangster, we need a thug, we need somebody who can control the people that will give us access to the markets because of the deals that are being made. And I don't know if Pahlavi is too independent a figure, and Annie, maybe you know his mentality better, to be able to sign on the dotted line to the Trump administration, hey, I'm gonna give you our oil at this price forever. I mean, his father was also trying to create independence and this kind of prosperity for Iran that upset the West. So
exactly.
I'm kind of worried that he's not going to be able to sign it all over because just consciously, intellectually, I don't think he's prepared to do that. So is he going to be able to make a deal? If that's the condition as Barry describes it, and I absolutely think that that's where President Trump's head is at, would Pahlavi make those concessions?
Well, here are the things. Number one, exactly that's why they removed his father, because he didn't agree to all those terms. But you need, again, keep in mind, we have Crown Reza Pahlavi, MEK, and one of the modern reformers inside Iran. Crown Prince Pahlavi will never agree to as much as the other two will.
Right.
One needs to survive. One is desperate for power. MEK will give all of our resources to America, all of it. Forget about oil and gas. They're going to give the pistachio and opium and saffron and all of it, including our ocean and desert will be named Trump. I kid you not. That's what Mariam Rajavi will do. Mariam Rajavi will be like, we're going to rename Alborz Mountain to Trump Mountain. And they got a deal. And that's exactly why we know we end up picking the wrong leader. A good leader will not sacrifice as much as America will expect. So again, my concern is, and here's the thing, the 100-day plan of Crown Prince Pahlavi is out there publicly. The competition has read it. They know how to beat the offer. The Phoenix Project of Iran explains exactly how he's going to build Iran, including the foreign policy, including alliance, including economy. And we have Mariam Rajavi's end, which she said, just let me be the boss and torture all Iranians and turn them into Marxist Islamists. The rest is yours. Take it. So I love the idea you have Trump, Barry about Trump. But then at the same time, I know MEK, especially today, they've been fighting for this power, not because they care about Iran or Iranian people, because of their own ego. You got two egos in front of each other. Lord have mercy on the result of that. But I rather rely on Israel's support and influence than Pahlavi ever agreeing to the list that Trump is going to ask him to agree to. Because, again, he didn't wait. The difference is, as he said on air many times in last year or so, he's not applying for the job. He doesn't even want the job. He has waited all these years to do the right thing for the people of Iran. He's not going to bend. He won't. He might a little bit, but not as much as he's not going to bend. He's going to be grateful. He's going to appreciate everything President Trump and Trump administration has done to get us here, but he's not going to shake the hand on what Trump is going to ask of him. Whereas to Mariam Rajavi will, and that's where the next stage, again, I know at the end, I guess the reason I say I know is, I just look at, have you looked at just muting the TV and looking at Bibi's face in the last 7 days every time he's on camera? This man has reached his limit. He is not going for ceasefire. He is not going for pause. He has reached his limit, rightfully so. And Bibi knows helping Crown Prince Pahlavi means years and decades of breathing and his people enjoying life. And we both know.
So basically, you've bought into the American argument that Israel controls America.
No,
if you think Bibi can control what Trump does, that's a very exciting thought. But I don't know.
No, you misunderstood. I didn't say Bibi is going to control. My main concern at the beginning was we will have a conflict between Israel and America. Bibi is not going to control. Israel will win.
Yeah,
we don't. That's the thing.
There will be a monster, and I mean a monster dispute between Israeli leadership and American leadership if they can't get on the same page about the future leadership in Iran. Because the truth is, America does not face an existential threat every day. Israel does. And they have gone so deep into this, there is no stopping. Israel is very clear in every single statement coming out of the government and the military in Israel. We will not stop until there is regime change. And all of the government is gone. And all of the military is gone. And all the hardware and the factories and the missile launching sites are all gone. Israel will not stop, with or without America at this point. They have passed the point of no return. They are literally digging themselves into a monster financial hole. There's discussions in the Knesset, the Israeli parliament right now. How are we going to pay for this? They're going so deep into debt. The economy is being so focused on what needs to be done to put the same pilots up in the air. Look, on the first day of the war, Israel had 200 planes in the air. That's never been done in world history. They flew hundreds of hours times hundreds of planes to start the war on the first day. And they will not stop until it's over. They can't, because they'll be right back in the same point in 3 or 4 or 5 years if Mujahideen with different color uniforms and different slogans take over. They have to have a free Iran. They have to.
And unlike United States of America, mainly our leaders, top leaders, Israel, from people on the street all the way to Bibi, they all know very well who MEK is, who Mariam Rajavi is, right, what they're capable of. They know for a fact on any question MEK has stood by Palestine and never recognized Israel, where on the other hand, well, Crown Reza Pahlavi's father and grandfather recognized Israel. Well, Iran was the first country in the region to even recognize Israel. So bottom line is yes. And mind you, one thing we need to keep in mind, we do not have a single, not even one, Iranian American agent inside Tehran. You know how many Iranian Mossad agents we have inside Tehran? Who do you think is going to win this?
Well, so my question to you then, back at the end of that, is that who wins that fight? If it ends up a fight between the U.S. government and Israel, how does that get resolved?
Oh, it's going to get resolved by push and force. Israel's going to give America a taste of their medicine.
Well, look, you know, we actually have some guidance, and that's Syria. You know, Israel was not happy, and they are not happy.
And Israel lost that fight.
That Jilani is the leader of Syria. He is a gangster Islamist. He is famous, or I should say infamous, for slaughtering his enemies with his own 2 hands. And the pictures are still on the internet. You can look it up, of him holding the severed heads of his enemies. Except now he's in a nice suit and he plays basketball at the White House. So
well, that's why I used him as an example. That
Israel you're 100% right. It's a very astute comment. That's right on the border. I have been on that border. I have been in the Golan Heights looking right into Syria where the thugs are. And I filmed there. It is terrifying for Israel that that kind of organization is now running the place. The difference between Assad and Jilani is simply that Assad, by the time he left a country in shambles. If Syria was armed, united, and controlled by Jilani, oh boy, has Israel got a problem on their hands.
For sure.
The idea that Iran would slide back into that sort of sphere after this war is absolutely untenable for Jerusalem to tolerate.
Let me address the but Israel lost that war. Hedy, 3 differences. 1, there was no Crown Prince Pahlavi alternative to Jilani. Number 2, Syrians inside Syria were not in the middle of a revolution against neither Jilani or Assad. Number 3, there was no war. Israel was complaining about it, but they didn't have an option of, we're going to fight your guy to place our guy. Those are the advantages we have when it comes to Iran. They have a Crown Prince Pahlavi who has traveled on official invitation to Israel, shook hands. Hey, let's be honest. I'm pretty sure Bibi and Crown Prince Pahlavi already made their deals. Bibi knows exactly what they're getting out of it, and Pahlavi knows what he's getting out of it. I would agree that we would lose that if there was no Crown Prince Pahlavi and our choices was between Mousavi, the reformer in Iran, or MEK, there would be no winning.
Neither one of those groups will ever have a representative in Jerusalem. It will never happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm panicking, but for different reasons, not for the end result. I know Crown Prince Pahlavi is going to take power. And Hedy, do you really think our own fellow Iranians are going to sit and take it?
You know, that's the horrific part about this, is that, you know, was there another, you know, secular Syrian leader? I mean, I can't name one for you, that's for sure. But there was internal battles within Syria for control, but Gilani's group had the most weapons and were the most violent, and they took control because the Syrian population, similar to Iran, is unarmed. So they weren't able to defend themselves against his militia and basically ISIS that had grown in Syria as a result of the war in Iraq. But my fear is that this could create a bloodbath in Iran if there's this, coalition of the crazies. Maybe it's not handing it to MEK alone, but, so a couple of sprinkles some of the mullahs and have them take off their hats and create this bizarre coalition of people that doesn't include the crown prince. What is the population going to do? It just sounds so messy. I'm just praying that it's not going to look like that.
Oh, it's going to be messy, and we have talked about this. Well, I have talked about it since 12 Days War. But one thing is, the wound is too fresh for Iranian people. That's another reason I say what Trump is doing is not policy, it's ego. He should know better. They just buried over 53,000 Iranians. This war cannot be, it only ends their way or their way. It's too fresh. They're not going to buy into lipstick on a pig, MEK, NCRI, none of that. Iranians are standing by, they're chanting, they're calling. Somebody on the comment section said something very interesting, and I agree with. Of all the people, President Trump should know better how it feels if somebody steals your vote. Iranian people have voted. Don't steal it, Mr. President. Because, again, historically, Iranians, individuals, humans, Iranians, even inside America, we have been the best group of immigrants. We have been successful. We assimilated. We helped the country. We become Americans. Inside Iran, Americans have always had good relationship with Americans. This is the moment we can change that into Americans having no choice but to try to, shed blood or vice versa.
Can I ask your opinions? What do you think is the reason why Crown Prince hasn't gone in already? Why isn't he just going there and go down to a bunker, put a helmet and say, I'm here?
Because
The
he'll
same
die.
reason.
He'll die. If they can find him, they'll kill him. And the IRGC has plenty of still loyal soldiers. If they could get to him, they would get to him. He'd be dead. Even with Israeli protection, it would be disastrous. He can't be there until the leadership is disassembled. That's my opinion.
Also, I would top that with the fact that Crown Prince Pahlavi has waited this long because he wants to make sure when he does become the leader, either temporary or transitional or permanent, he wants to make sure the legitimacy of his leadership is not questioned.
Well, he announced today that he is the transitional leader.
No, he said he has accepted the leadership of the one of the things I love about him that matches dramatically his grandfather, not his father, his grandfather, he does not step over the lines, or he doesn't cross the red lines of human society to make himself powerful. Yes, I agree. Right now he can't be safe. Look what happened to his brother when he crossed border into Kurdistan. They killed him. So safety is one matter, but the second one is he wants to make sure that he's doing it the right way and legit way, instead of creating more, as it is, as you know, many are blaming him for January 8th and 9th. No, that is when the regime is toppled. Because the regime isn't toppled yet. Khamenei is dead, yes, but the regime isn't toppled.
But why, security concern aside, why is it illegitimate at this point when the people have outright rejected and they're putting one puppet in after another? Why is it illegitimate for him to go now?
Because as of right now, there is no actual systematic voting, so he doesn't have the legal vote of Iranian people. On the other hand, no other foreign country, including Israel, has not on the paper endorsed him as the transitional leader. So right now, by international law or a national law of the country, neither side is on the paper. That's why if he goes in, it's not going to be legit. Criminal court, UN can come after him and say, you invaded it. We're not going to legitimize your power. And remember, UN works with the mullahs. So he can't risk losing the legitimacy on the paper day after the fall because he wants to rush in. And I hate to do this, but guys, we're absolutely out of time. I appreciate you guys. I have a feeling over the weekend there might be a new leader, so we might have to come on air. But guys, follow Barry Newsbaum. Go to findbarry.com. That's findbarry.com. And Hediye, remind me of your website. I'm sorry.
Resurrect Ministry.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now. And we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programs.